Welcome to this explainer on the grad school paradigm shift. Have you ever found yourself sitting in a massive lecture hall just furiously scribbling down every single word the professor says? Trying to capture every tiny microscopic detail? Well, what if I told you that entire approach is fundamentally outdated? Seriously, our source material today argues that traditional graduate school study habits are completely missing the mark in the modern era. We're going to explore a massive, literal, game-changing shift in how you should be spending your time and your energy in a university setting. It's time to completely rethink what it means to be a student.
So are you studying wrong? I know, it's a super provocative question, isn't it? But if you're a working professional heading back for an evening master's degree or a full-time grad student pouring thousands upon thousands of dollars into tuition, you really need to ask yourself this. Are you wasting your incredibly valuable time acting like a human tape recorder? The source bluntly points out that if your main goal in class is to just absorb and transcribe facts, you are approaching your education completely backwards. Think about it, you aren't a machine, right? So why on earth are you studying like one?
And that brings us right to our first major concept from the source material. Stop acting like a recorder. Look, the trap of rote memorization is probably one of the most common pitfalls in higher education. We've all been conditioned since, elementary school, to believe that learning equals listening to a teacher and writing down exactly what they say. But in graduate school, the source argues this is entirely the wrong approach. If a professor is lecturing and you're just sitting there, keeping your head down, frantically typing to catch every sentence, you're actually blocking yourself from true learning. You're completely missing the forest for the trees.
The source material gets incredibly blunt about this practice. It literally calls bragging about a stack of filled notebooks foolish. Ouch, right? But it makes sense. It's a completely hollow victory. You might feel super productive because your hand is cramping up and your notebook is full to the brim, but the source argues that you haven't actually engaged with the environment at all. You've basically just performed a glorified data entry task.
Okay, let's dive into this comparison. Because if the old way of furious note-taking is totally dead, what exactly is the new way? Well, the source calls it concept sketching and observing the environment. This right here is the paradigm shift. Instead of being a passive transcriptionist, you need to become an active observer. You're completely shifting their energy away from capturing raw data and redirecting it towards capturing high-level concepts and, crucially, the context of the room.
So what exactly does the source mean when it says sketching? Think of it literally, like drawing an outline. You jot down just enough to trigger your memory later, the main theme, the core argument, the big picture. But more importantly, once you've sketched the concept, you look up. You actually observe the professor's behavior. How are they delivering this information? What's the vibe of the environment like? You're supposed to be sweeping the room, absorbing the atmosphere, and understanding the human element of the lecture, rather than just acting as a human dictation machine.
Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. Okay, but if I only sketch the main concepts, how on earth am I going to learn the actual facts for my exams or my thesis, right? Well, this is where the source material introduces a deeply modern solution. Let AI do the work. We live in an era of absolutely incredible, powerful artificial intelligence. The heavy lifting of finding specific facts, organizing data, and explaining granular details, that is no longer a human student's job. It's a technological tool's job.
Let's walk through this incredibly efficient three-step workflow. Step 1. As we just discussed, you sketch the concept during the lecture. You get that big picture. Step 2. You go home, you look at your sketch, and you ask AI for the details. You just type in your high-level notes and prompt the AI to explain the specific fields, find the data, and fill in all those blanks. And the source makes a great point here. AI will actually find this information faster and way more comprehensively than your professor could if you just bothered them with 100 specific questions. And finally, step 3, synthesize and refine. You take that deep data the AI gave you, combine it with your conceptual sketch, and organize it into your own solid understanding. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is to make AI your mentor. Use it as your own personal research assistant. And there's this brilliant little anecdote in the source material that I love. It actually advises you to literally say thank you to the AI after it helps you. Crazy, right? But why? Not because the machine has feelings, obviously, but because it builds a really good habit within yourself of managing technology properly and maintaining a positive, receptive mindset. It's all about training yourself to interact well with the exact tools that are elevating your capabilities.
So if you aren't spending your time memorizing facts and AI is handling all the deep research, what is the actual point of going to graduate school at all? Why even show up? The source is incredibly clear on this. The real value is people. The true purpose of attending higher education isn't to acquire knowledge that you could have just Googled or asked an AI for in 5 seconds. It's about the physical environment you've been placed in and the living, breathing human beings surrounding you.
The source makes a very blunt, highly pragmatic correlation here regarding the cost of education.
Cheaper tuition generally buys you access to a standard networking environment, which is fine. But expensive tuition, we're talking places like Oxford or Harvard, what are you actually paying for? You are paying for a high-caliber networking environment. The source notes that these elite institutions attract highly influential individuals. The children of global leaders, massive entrepreneurs, top-tier thinkers. You are paying for the privilege of literally being in the same room as them. It has absolutely nothing to do with the textbooks being better. It is entirely about the caliber of your peers.
And this brilliantly illustrates how you should actually spend your time. Since you freed up all that mental energy by sketching and letting AI do the heavy lifting, how do you maximize your environment? It's highly practical stuff. Have tea with your classmates. Smile and be a receptive presence. Listen sincerely when others speak to you. The source emphasizes that just by having a warm demeanor and actively listening, you absorb incredible value and you naturally draw people to you. Avoid being rigid or entirely focused on yourself. Your primary goal is to build relationships. Because if you make one great connection, that person will introduce you to another and your network just compounds from there. Which brings us to the ultimate warning from the source material. Don't just be a technician. If you ignore the people around you, if you skip having tea with your classmates and you just sit alone in the library hoarding your notebooks, you are completely missing the entire point of higher education. You are failing to capture the unique, unreplicable value of the university environment. There's actually a specific Korean term the source uses for this, jangyi. It translates roughly to a mere technician or a hyper-focused nerd. A jangyi is someone who focuses solely on studying the facts, obsessing over getting slightly better grades, and entirely missing the broader human and networking value of their education. And look, in the age of AI, being a jangyi is a losing strategy. AI is already the ultimate technician. It already knows all the facts. If all you bring to the table is factual recall, you have literally made yourself obsolete. Your human advantage, your real superpower, is your ability to connect, empathize, and network. So, as you look at your own educational journey, your own return on investment, are you building a network or just a stack of notebooks? The modern paradigm requires you to use technology to handle the data so that you can use your humanity to build relationships. Stop transcribing, start sketching, let AI do the heavy lifting, and seriously, start having tea with the people around you. That is how you truly succeed in the modern educational environment. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll leave you to ponder that final question.